Streaming. Okay, so people are working through the exercises, and I think most people have got number 1, and some people have got number 2, and number 3, number 4, number 5. It starts bogging you down. Here's why, and I just explained this to Harper over the phone a minute ago. I took a look at this database. Here's how I came up with these questions, and I said, if I were a business, what questions might I ask of this database? And I just wrote down the questions. And I didn't have any concern for how complicated they might be to solve. So I wasn't thinking about your well-being at all. My bad. On the upside, these are possible real-world questions. So your customer's not going to take it easy on you either. So you need to understand how to think, okay, this is what they want to know. How do I figure it out? And the good thing is the answer is almost always in the database. If they didn't capture the data, it's not there. But if the data exists, you can get it out. You just have to know some SQL ninja tricks. So let's review some of the things that you've seen for like 5 seconds 2 days ago. And maybe it's going to come in handy. So let's take a look at some of these together. Richmond, are you with us? Kelly, let me know if they say yes in a minute. So I asked you for number 1. Let's do all these together. So the first one, I think I've even posted the answer to the first one.
We haven't gotten anything from Richmond.
Yeah.
Richmond.
This is board.
Okay. I texted Harper to let him know that we're streaming. They can probably view this later on if they're interested. Let me see. Okay, so let's take a look at the first 2. Does everyone understand the answer to number 1? Okay, so that one's one table. You're saying, I want to find the active customers, and I only care about the first, last, and email. And really, I call this a unique identifier. By now, you know it's a primary key. That's all it is. So question number 2. You're looking for a movie to watch with your nephew. Find a unique list of movies that are classified as children or comedy. So you got the movie title, and you've got the rating, and let's take this and let's play with it. So this is the answer to number 2. This will give us all films. Why are we using this table? Why is that film category table relevant?
It's got children. It's got whether it's for children or comedy.
Yeah, that's how we have to go through this table to get to the goods in here. This is a cross-reference for a many-to-many relationship. We have to join to get from film to category. That's the whole purpose in its life, to relate films to categories. We need to get to category so that we can see children and comedy. Harper says Richmond's online, so we're good. So Richmond, to catch you up, in case you started the feed a little bit late, what we're doing is we're reviewing the answers to a couple of these, and we're going to do a couple of them together. And then we're going to send you back out and try to complete the rest of them. So we joined to film category because that's how we go from film category to category. We wanted to talk about category because most of you probably didn't write it like this. Most of you wrote it how? Most of you probably said this. Right? Is your way better than my way? Is my way better than your way? The answer is no. They are exactly identical. The query processor will convert the in clause to this syntax. So it is exactly identical. You don't have to worry about it at all. This is just a little bit more typing, and I'm a lazy programmer. That's all it means. And by the way, That's really all an in clause is used for. There is one more variance. If you want to use an in, and you're saying, I don't have the list known, it's not a hard-coded list, I want to do another query, and I want to put a list in here like this. If I want to say, you know, my nephew is kind of weird. He likes any categories that begin with the letter C. Name in. Well, you wouldn't write it like that. You would actually just do a direct join. Instead, let's make it... There's not a good one to do. Let me show it to you, but in English, it's not going to make a whole lot of sense. This is another use of the in clause. This says, I want to run this first. You know, just like in normal math and in other programming, you have a paren, and you do what's inside the paren first. That's exactly how you should read it here, too. So whatever's inside this paren, this in clause, you're going to go, in your mind, think about, okay, let me read that query by itself. And you can actually run it by itself. That's the beauty of SQL. Immediate gratification, remember? Highlight just that bit and press F5. You can see what it's going to give you back. It's like, okay, I'm going to get back these three. Then it's going to say name is in. In means it's equal to children, or it's equal to classics, or it's equal to comedy. The power of an in is this variant. It's not usually the hard-coded variant, this one. This allows you to run, what's this called? This is called a subquery. Okay? Which is another concept I was going to introduce later on today anyway. So, don't worry about that. The in or equal are interchangeable, yes. So this right here is the same. These two right up here, line 4 and line 5, are exactly the same. Does the same thing. It's just how you like to look at it. Yeah, like this down here. The question was, how do you just kind of, whenever you feel like it, you throw an alias? Yeah. I created an alias for the table category here just by saying X after it. And then as soon as I say that, I can call all of its columns X dot whatever. That's how easy it is. So that's a table alias. F is a table alias for film. Our space rating is a column alias for the column rating here. So if I run that, our column is going to look like our space rating, even though the real column is just rating. That's a column alias. That just means I'm going to rename my column when I show the results. You didn't really change the table, you're just showing it for this query. Question?
So I've had issues with the group by. And I think I've kind of fixed or gotten an idea on it, but I'm not sure why it does what it does. So I can't use an alias for the group by. And then, so like I couldn't put, or I had trouble putting our rating, that alias you would put into the group by, and using that to establish groups.
So Scott's saying, let me repeat for Richmond's benefit. He's saying he's had problems with the group by. Specifically, he's had problems with putting an alias into the group by. There's a good reason for that. Group bys don't accept aliases. So in group bys, you always have to reference the real thing.
So
Do the alias in the select section, and then when you do the group by, just refer to the two things that you combined with the alias, or the original thing that you created the alias.
It's got to actually be the, if you concatenated two columns, it would be the concatenation statement all over again.
and so say you have like an average or a count in your select statement. You have to put everything else besides that into the group by. So I'm confused.
I'm smiling because, yes, it is that painful. His question was, whenever you do a group by, if you do anything else, so what you're really saying is, if I have a count, I don't have to put as, logically in English, what is count star here?
Count everything.
With this rating. Title, rating, so that's really, no. Count doesn't make sense here. Really what you're doing here with a group by is you're using it to eliminate duplicates. So count has two byproducts, and I'm going to get back to your question. So his question was, I'm having trouble with group by because it seems like I have to throw all of my columns that I've specified up here in my select into my group by, except for any aggregate functions. And the answer is yes, it is that painful. That's the way group bys work. Logically, what you're doing with a group by is you're saying, look at these columns and eliminate all duplicates. And you can get away with specifying aggregate functions up here in your selects, like if it made sense, an average or a standard deviation or a count, what have you, a sum. You can do all that stuff because what those aggregate functions are doing, as the rows come flying by, as the processor is looking at the rows, the aggregate function says, oh, I'm going to take that little bit and I'm going to throw it into my basket and I'm going to count them. Or I'm going to throw it into my basket and I'm going to sum them up. And at the end, what do I have left? It's the end result of whatever's left in my basket. All of the columns have to be collapsed to their unique values if they're specified in the group by. So group by title and rating down here. So anything specified up here, those you're just making it unique. This is a poor query to use to exhibit the functions, the aggregate functions. Let's do...
This didn't work out because we've got NC-17 and R rating.
Okay, so Brian's pointing out the data is just not looking right. Let's see if you're right. He's saying that we've got an NC-17 that's categorized as a children's movie, and I hope not, because otherwise I'm going to traumatize my nephew.
It's comedies that are.
Ah. We do have an NC-17, and I don't want to show that to my 6-year-old nephew. So how do we prevent our nephew from being traumatized? How would we do that?
You can do like a where. Can you do another where? The rating is
I like where you're thinking. Could we just do another where? You don't have to. You only have to specify the where keyword once, but you can say and. That's not going to work as is, but think about why this is bad. So I'm going to say that's one way to say it. You could say this also. This is where you can write it however you like. You could, if you know all of the possible ratings that you do want to include, yeah, you just go the other way. But what about G? You probably want to let G in. G, PG, PG-13.
No, maybe 13 is not for children.
It depends on
We have a protective mother. PG-13 is not for children. Okay. So PG only, G or PG.
A child is not 13.
Okay.
It says nephew.
Didn't say how old they were. Okay, so there are multiple ways to write this. Now, what's wrong with this is that we've mixed and or. What do you need to make your logic make sense? You put parens so you can resolve one portion of your logic before you do the next. So we need to say children or comedy, get that done. Okay, so resolve that, and then you say and. Those are just different ways of writing the same thing. It is important that the parens exist, because if you said or and without the parens, this or really relates to children or comedy. It doesn't have anything to do with rating. You need to separate those. You need to say that little bit Figure that out first. And then, at the same level, and the rating not in, whatever.
Would it go the other way around too? You could search for
The rating first?
yeah.
Absolutely. You can write it however you like. The and, it's, what is it, the transitive property in math, where you can say, it doesn't matter which order you say it, it's the same thing.
So why can't they be run at the same time? Why is that?
Oh, the parens is what I was talking about. If I take that parentheses off, now that doesn't really make logical sense. Because you're saying the F not in, or the name is comedy. So, okay, so that, we don't really mean what we wrote down there. You see, so if I say or comedy, that means ignore everything else. If you're comedy, you're good. That's not really what we meant. We meant, oh, you have to be children or comedy, and you can't be an NC-17 or R. Okay, the point of this was to show you multiple different ways to do things. I wanted to introduce you to some grouping. So let's do another one of these together. Top 5 customers. So let's see if I can, let's create a new query window. So the challenge was find your top 5 customers as measured by their highest average payment, as long as they have rented 3 or more times. So we know that top 5, that's going to say limit. Give me just the first 5 of my results, throw everything else away. The first place to start here, let me write this from scratch again together and show you the thought process. So that's going to be the result. But where do you start? When you're faced with a customer asks you this question, what's the thought process? Find your top 5 customers. Okay, I'm probably going to use the customer table. Select star from customer. Okay, now I got my customer table. I know I have to have that syntax. That's not going to get me anywhere near what I want, but that's where you start. I've got my customers table, and it says as measured by their highest average payment. Payments. Then I'm going to go poke around my database, like, okay, how do you figure out payments? There's probably a payment, yeah, there's a payment table. Let's take a look at the columns on the payment table. There's a customer ID. What's that?
Streams down. Yeah, the one that follows.
So I've restarted the stream. Richmond, please let us know if and when it's back for you. Kelly, let me know. So I started with customer, and then I said, oh, it's talking about payments. Let me go see if there's any information about payments in my database. And sure enough, there's a payment table. So I've got customer ID, payment. Okay, so now I'm home free. It's like, okay, I know how to connect 2 tables. The hard part's figuring out which tables the information is in. So I'm going to go, let's join them. Now, the next question is, how do you join them? Do you care about one set of information more than the other, or are they equal? Do you have to match? In this case, customers and payments, yeah, every customer has to have a payment for the type of analysis I'm doing here. So it's an inner join. Okay? So let's finish up the inner join. Now,
It's gone.
So you
The
connect for a
stream went
few
again.
seconds, then says it's unavailable.
Is
Can you
there
guys see it back there?
like a basic?
Yeah, it's gone there.
I say that because I was hoping I wouldn't need to start trying to run it like that.
no, whatever you like, really. And I mean that not facetiously. It's like, yeah, whatever you like, it's fine. Of course, when I work on it, I'm going to immediately reformat it. And if you work on mine, you'll immediately reformat mine. It's normal. Just get to a syntax that you like. I've restarted the stream. One of y'all let me know.
Yeah, they said not yet, but it's probably lagging. So
Well, I stopped and restarted it, so. So we've got customer and payments. Y'all in the back, I don't have to actually ask Richmond. Y'all yell at me if it's up or down. Still down.
I just went back a page. To the YouTube Creator Studio.
Yeah, yeah.
Just go back on the dashboard.
And then on the left-hand side, there's like events, live stream or something.
Live stream, yeah. It says it's not working. I'm trying to reload it.
Ah, I didn't think I was doing something explicit. Let me call Harper and tell him to go through this independently. YouTube fail.
Yeah, they're saying whenever Harper presses the live stream tab, it shows him an error.
Hey Harper, it's YouTube is failing us. You want to just go through enrichment, and I'll go through here, and we'll just do it like that for a while. Okay.
Creator Studio window.
Okay. No more streaming for now. And Harper